Welcome back. This is a patrol story. Uh, this is going to be, stay with me on this one. It's a long story, but it's very interesting and it's very sad and it's very unusual. Okay, very strange story. Okay, you won't see this anywhere else except someone who experienced this. Okay, I had a probationer, and in other words, I taught him when he first came out of the academy, and very sharp kid, very good kid. Okay, so he worked our area for 6 months, and then he made permanent, and he went to the San Fernando Valley. And didn't follow him necessarily. Once in a while, I'd see a roster of people that got promoted, and I heard that he was working homicide. Okay, and he had about, this is fast forward maybe 14 years, 15 years. And even though we're a large department, we keep track of our people that we know. These rosters that come out every month of where everybody's going. And I heard this again. This is one of those things where I heard some things and I saw some things. And I heard that he was working homicide, and he had a case where there was a missing girl, a little girl about 9. Okay, and they were looking for her. And they're pretty sure they found blood at the house, and they're pretty sure she's missing. So it's not a missing person; it's a homicide, and they're looking for her because they think she might have been, something bad happened to her. And he was a young detective. He had maybe 16 years on the job, but just made detective, and he was working homicide. Very sharp kid. And he got a call from an informant that there was a shady guy had a child perversion record that had a storage facility in one of these storage places. And so his main partners were working a certain part of this homicide, and he said, well, I got a call here, maybe you should go check it out. I go, well, get a couple of uniformed officers and go out there and just see what's going on and check out the locker and see if his name's on it and all that stuff and see what you can do. Okay, fine. So he goes out there. Well, being that he's a convicted sex offender, they got a warrant real easy to go in this locker. So they go there. He got a warrant. They cut the lock, open it up, and they open the locker up. And there's these large blue plastic drums, okay, in there. Okay, a bunch of other stuff. So they noticed the smell. Okay, now I've talked in other stories on myvideo.com that the smell of a human pretty distinct. Okay, so they narrow it down to this one large blue, like a 55-gallon drum, but it's a blue plastic container. So they open it up, and she was in there. Okay, she was cut up in like 5 different pieces, and she was dead. Okay, so my partner had a little 8-year-old himself. Okay, so they called the powers to be. Of course, now all the guys that are working on one, they all come over there, and he's just standing back while they're actually doing this. And so this affected him really bad. Okay, and he tried to work other homicides, and it affected him really bad, really bad. He went to a psychiatrist, and to come on the department, you have to be signed off by a psychiatrist. And if you have problems, they have a psychiatrist open 24 hours a day. You don't need to tell anybody to go in there if you have problems. He went in there, and he had a problem. Okay, and the psychiatrist said that he should not be on the job anymore. Okay, he can't sleep. All the questions they ask these guys: you can't sleep, you can't have sex with your wife, you can't, you're paranoid. You're shielding your daughter because she's 9 years old and you don't want anybody to even talk to her because you're afraid she's going to get killed. I mean, all this stuff is going through his mind. So he got pensioned off on a medical pension. Okay. So a couple years later, they had a retirement for him, retirement party. Okay, and he had at that time, I think he might have had almost 20 on. I think he had like 17 or 18 years on. So you're going to have a celebration of his retirement. His family and children are there and everything. Okay, so I was his train officer as a probationer many years earlier, and his supervisor was there. One of my supervisors that was on other stories, a sharp guy, made a chief of police now somewhere else, and we're there at this retirement. So we've seen other officers and we're going, hi, how's it going? So now he's going to come out. He's going to come out and sit at the table and say hi to everybody, and they're going to roast him. I've never seen this before, ever. I have been to probably in 35 years, and now I'm retired. I've probably been to 200 retirements at least. I've roasted maybe 40 of them. I've never seen this ever. He came out in full gang garb. Khaki pants, Pendleton shirt, red bandana over his head, and unshaven, and with an accent. This is a white guy, Caucasian guy. I want to thank you for coming here, and we're all going, oh, that's pretty cute. Is that kind of a nice, racist thing he's doing here? No. He stayed in character the whole time. They roasted him. He got awards the whole time. And I'm looking at this other guy who was my sergeant. He goes, what's going on? He goes, I've never seen this before. And we went up there and told some things about when he worked for us. And 2.5 hours. all the celebration, all the blah, 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 and he stayed in character as a gang member. Okay, so something is happening here. Okay, fine. So we left. And we looked at each other like, whoa, that was strange. And so we left. Okay. Fast forward, oh gosh, got to be 10 years, maybe. We get a police paper. And in that paper was a homicide that was solved by this unit. And they show pictures of the detectives, a very complex homicide, and he was the lead supervisor. And I'm looking at this and what the heck? What? So A, he came back, and B, now he's in charge of the homicide unit, the same division. So I call this sergeant, he's a chief somewhere, and we got the same paper. And so he goes, God, what's going on? I don't know. He goes, I'll call back. I'll let you know. I got sources. I'll call you back. Okay, fine. Like a soap opera. So that, I didn't talk to this chief of police now for maybe a couple months after I made that call. And then the paper shows that he's retiring again. Okay? And this time it said, retiring, for the last time, honest. That was his, I'm going, okay. So I call this guy up and he goes, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'll go to it. I mean, okay, fine. So, so we go back to it. And I found out through the chief that he went back to the shrink and said, 3 or 4 years later, and said, I think I'm okay now. And he gave him a battery of tests and everything else. And you have to sign off, and the chief has to accept you. And that's because you want to come back, it means you're going to come back. You have to be accepted. And he had a lot of people writing for him. He was accepted. He wanted to go back to homicide. And he went back to homicide and worked there for several years. Then he became the top step because he's sharp, he's smart. I mean, you don't want to ignore smart people, even though he had a problem. So then, now he's in charge. And right before he retired for the second time, there was another children homicide, and one of his people discovered this little girl chopped up in a car, and he wrote to that, and I guess that was the time he said, you know what, I think I need to stop doing this. So even though he was in charge and wasn't really in the nitty-gritty like he was when he was a young detective, he still saw this little girl, because you always have to see it, you have to testify to it, you have to, and I couldn't do that job. I have another story in there where I couldn't work child abuse. I couldn't do it. I had to tell my supervisor. So this finally was one that broke the straw. And so he went in and said, this time he didn't have to have a psychiatrist. He had enough years in the department. He could just say, I'm retired, put his paperwork in. And then 3 or 4 months later, it's when we saw the notice. We went to his retirement. I'm thinking, oh boy, what's going to happen here? As if it never happened. Suit and tie with his wife, children. Children were now grown. They reminded me, I went to his wedding. He reminded, and to the reception, that I went to one of the kids' recital or something, so they even knew me. He talked about me because I taught him a lot when he was a young kid. So that, and it was really a nice retirement. It was normal retirement. It was just weird. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And nothing was said about the first time, about him being in gang garb or anything. And same wife, all those years. God bless her, staying by his side. Weird, just a weird thing. And now he's a councilman in some city out there. He's a very sharp guy. But just maybe just him going over and maybe he became all right. I don't know. I have no idea how he got cured. But he seemed fine. He seemed normal, and who knows? Hopefully he'll be fine. Anyway, sorry to linger on this, but it's a strange story. Never seen that before. I never have, ever. So, see you next time. All right, bye-bye.